Welcome to Wired to Hunt's Whitetail How-Tos, where we provide a step-by-step tutorial for one important deer hunting task. Trail cameras, as great as they are for telling us what deer are up to, are also really great at telling deer what we're up to. So how do you go about setting up and using trail cameras in a way that won't spook more deer and instead will actually help you? The first thing to think about is simply where are you going to place your trail cameras? Are you going to put them on a field edge? Or are you going to put them way back in the middle of a bedding area? And when are you doing that? This first decision you have to make when setting up a camera can really impact things a lot. Because if you decide, well, everyone says deer live back in the cover, so I'm going to go way back in the thick stuff and put my camera up there and I'm going to get some big bucks on it, well, that's a quick way to spook a deer. Now, it's not necessarily that the camera is doing that. It's you going in there to put the camera somewhere that's spooking deer. So think about how your travel is going to impact deer and educate them on what you're up to. So if it's the summertime and you're just trying to get inventory, maybe you don't care so much about how you're going to spook deer because you're going to set that camera up and then you're going to leave it for 2 months. But if it's in season and you're trying to set up a camera somewhere and you don't want that to impact your hunts, think about low risk versus high risk trail camera locations. A low risk place is somewhere you can quickly get to that's near the edge of a field or an opening, somewhere where you can move, that deer are not bedded. You can place that camera without blowing your wind into where they are, etc. On the flip side, a high risk would be going deep into the cover, going somewhere where those deer are right now. You want to avoid those high risk locations as much as possible. Now you got to pick where on the tree am I going to place that camera. If you're trying to get summer trail camera pictures and you just want to get some big, beautiful velvet bucks and you're going to let that camera sit for months and months on end, maybe you can get away with placing your camera at eye level and those deer will get used to it and you'll get your big, beautiful pictures and that's great. On the flip side, sometimes trail cameras can spook deer by their presence, right? Just simply seeing a weird box on the tree is gonna unnerve a deer. Or maybe they hear a click or a pop or they see a flash, that's gonna unnerve a deer. It might make more sense to place your camera higher in the tree, especially if you're gonna be hunting near where these cameras are in a short time frame. So if you begin with that idea of placing the camera low and you think you'll get away with that, be sure to monitor the pictures. If you notice that a lot of deer are looking up and staring right at your camera lens, or if you get a picture of a nice big buck on day one and then he's gone and doesn't show up for weeks, those are indications that they are on to what's happening here. Maybe you should move it up high. I'd rather spook fewer deer and get maybe slightly less sexy pictures versus getting beautiful glamour shots, but then never seeing those bucks in real life. Some trail cameras, especially the older ones, used to have real white flash. That's something that's not very popular anymore, and that's because white flash spooks deer. Get an infrared, the red infrared, the invisible black infrared, whatever the technology is on your camera that allows you to get a flash nighttime picture without a big white light is a good idea. If you want to avoid a lot of these issues when it comes to technology and placement, think about a cell camera. They're very user-friendly in a lot of cases. You can set them and kind of forget them and not need to come back to return to them for a very long time period, which eliminates a lot of variables. How do you go about getting in and out to check that camera? Human presence. That's usually the biggest way that you're spooking deer with these things. If you have to go in and check a camera, when are you going to do it? Think about, could I do it after a rain? Maybe in the middle of a rain where scent might be washed away by that rain. Could I do this in a time period when I make sure that the wind is blowing my scent away from where those deer are? Is there a way that I can match my trail camera checks up with a trip I'm already making to hunt and check it then versus making a special trip just to check those things? And finally, scent. The #1 tool that a deer has in his war box. Why would I not care about that when I'm sticking my hands all over this thing, placing it on a tree? This thing was in my backpack, it was in the back of the truck, my dog was licking it. You think you can take all that stank, put it out in the woods and the deer's not gonna notice it? You're kidding yourself. Keep these things as scent-free as you can leading up to using them. Try to wear gloves, keep your stinky hands off it. If you can't do that, spray it down. You might not be able to knock it all out, but if you can minimize that, maybe by the next day, they don't smell you. All the little details matter. Think about where you're placing them and how far you gotta go into the cover. Think about your technology. Think about how high in the tree you're gonna place it. Think about how you're gonna manage scent. And then finally, how are you gonna check those pictures? Is it cell camera? Is it being strategic with your ins and outs? All of that matters if you want these cameras to be a tool and not a detriment. If you want more information like this, be sure to tune into the Wired Hunt podcast or the Wired Hunt Foundation's mini-series. We've got new deer hunting know-how every week. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts.